बार सोच के छोड़ देने में और लग के कर दिखाने में, मान लेने में कि जिंदगी ऐसे ही कटेगी, और सुबह 4 बजे उठ के सोचने में ये अभी तो बस शुरुआत है। किसी मैगजीन को हाथ में लेने में और उसी मैगजीन के कवर पेज पे होने में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वीआईपी सीट में और उसकी पिछली सीट में इतना सा ही तो फर्क है। वो जिसका मैदान ही खुला आसमान है, वही कल जमीन पर तो था। पूछोगे तो बताएगा वो पंछी, ये एक दायरे में सिमटने में और पूरी दुनिया को दायरा बनाने में बस इतना सा फर्क है। इतना कितना है? इतना है या इतना है? जो नापेगा वो जाने कि जहां धरती और आसमान मिलते हैं, नानकुर से दूर, अगर मगर शायद से दूर, वहां भी दोनों में फर्क बस इतना सा है। धरती और 7वें आसमान में फर्क बस इतना सा है। ये एक अंतर प्रेरणा है। ये हमारी, आपकी, हम सब की अंतर प्रेरणा है। एक कदम, एक छलांग, एक बाजी, एक गहरी सांस और एक ललकार खुली हवाओं में कि हाँ, मैं बना हूं उन फिजाओं के लिए, कि हाँ, मैं बना हूं उन ऊंचाइयों के लिए जो ऊंची तो बहुत है पर नामुमकिन भी नहीं, क्योंकि मुमकिन और नामुमकिन में बस इतना सा फर्क है। धूप छांव में फर्क बस इतना सा है। तो बस चलिए फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया के साथ ये फर्क मिटा देते हैं। फ्रेंचाइज इंडिया।
This webinar is called exit planning, and it's a very complex topic. When you're looking to exit your business or you sell your business, it's a very, very complex decision. And it is not just a financial decision, but it is also a very emotional decision, because something you built, you've been running and you're known for, and you have to pass it on to somebody else. So we started this webinar just for a purpose that we want to educate people who are looking to sell their business. I'll also like to introduce my colleague Ujjwal, who leads Business X, and also Ram, who is part of Ujjwal's team. They both are part of our Business X team, and they work day and day night to help company owners who are looking to now part with their business. So what are we going to cover, friends? We are going to cover why people sell their business. That's very important, and we need to understand different reasons why somebody would like to sell their business. And then we get on to what types of exit options you have. If you want to sell the business, what kind of exit options you have. Then we'll also understand a little bit of goals and objectives in terms of what you want to achieve out of that piece. I mean, obviously, there would be different reasons why you want to sell and what is the kind of objective you have. Then we'll get on to the most complex part, which is really how you really value your business. And this is something which we have a separate team. We have a full valuation team which works with you to set the right valuation. And sometimes it needs a lot of financial restructuring to come down to that valuation point. And then we'll get on to understanding what is the buyer looking at, because you understand why would somebody invest into business, it doesn't work. So we'll understand what are the key things which a buyer looking at. Then we'll work on a little bit on the exit options and how you structure the deal. And finally, I'll cover what services Business X provides if you're looking to work with Business X in terms of giving a mandate to sell your business. So let's get started. And if you any questions you have, I see a lot of people already joined in. You can ask in the Q&A box, and I'll be happy to take up your questions. It can be around valuation, it can be around some examples which we can really talk about, and any other question comes to your mind. So as I said, it's a very, very complex decision, and I found it's becoming even more complex because of the way businesses are run and how entrepreneurs are involved. So why people sell a business is mostly, I've seen about 50% of them would be because they have problem in the business, which means that there's some kind of a financial pressure, business not doing well, or it has some liability sitting on the business. So they want to exit the business. And you have to come with terms with that. I see a lot of good money being wasted on businesses which don't do well. So if your business is not done well and it's having a lot of financial pressure, it is a time you really start thinking that you want to exit that business. And every business, take it from me, has a value. You need to determine the right timing for it, doing that. Even if you are not able to run the business for some reasons, somebody else might be able to turn around that business. So that's one part you need to understand. So most of the times we get about 50% of people who come to us have some kind of a financial pressure. Either they're sitting too much of debt in the business, or they have some other issues going on in the financial performance of the business. So if you are struggling with that, you need to really come to terms with it, that you need to eventually sell that business. So that's one reason. Then other people who are businesses doing good, doing well, and it's also profitable, they sell it for different reasons. They want to, in cash value. A lot of startups, you will see that. Like I was reading the Byju's story. While the Byju's is not doing well at this stage, but if you look at their buying spirit, a lot of good quality companies they acquired, and the promoters sold the company for great profit. Like Akash Institute. Akash Institute was acquired by Byju's. It was a great company. I know the promoters extremely well, and they made good money out of selling the business to Byju's. So people sometimes now look at selling the business for profit. Sometimes you're fatigued in the business. You're not able to enjoy what you're doing, yeah, or you have different interests to pursue. Then also you want to sell the business. And now we get a lot of times people coming to us, especially who don't have succession, which means that the children don't want to run the business. We just take on a mandate from a hospital, which we are mandated to sell. But the children are not doctors, and neither they want to pursue the hospital business. So they want to sell a very iconic old hospital, and they want to sell that business. Then also some other reasons are there. Sometimes the disputing partners don't want to work with each other. And we are seeing that also a lot coming up, that stakeholders have different reasons. And also sometimes you want to move or out of country, you're looking to settle somewhere else, and then also you want to sell the business. So if any of the reasons or other reasons are happening with you, it's first you need to come with the mindset that you are now ready to take that step or work towards that journey to really set the value of the business and find the right buyer on the business. And that's this journey which Business X does. Now let's look at the exit option. One exit option is that you completely sell the business, which means either you sell the complete company, which is there, or you take out the business out of that company and sell that. I prefer the second part because I feel that sometimes legacy of the company and due diligence on the business becomes really complex, and especially with current times, compliances have become very important. So sometimes it's easy to take the business out of the company, put the value, and then sell the business. And the new buyer can start a new company, fresh structure, and acquire that business. So it's a complete sellout. That's the most preferred option, especially for smaller businesses. It's the best option to sell complete business with assets. Second is you sell partial business, which means that you partial do exit. And this is normally used when you are sitting on a lot of debt and you want to convert that debt into an equity. We get a lot of people who have great businesses, but because they are over leveraged, entire incomes go into just servicing the debt or cost of capital. So how do you really intelligently shift that debt into an equity to make the business model, your balance sheet, much more lucrative? So that's also one kind of increasing the value of the business. You might lose some equity in the business, but you will make the business model, the business itself, much more profitable. So that's also very important, especially I see people in running industries. They normally acquire a lot of debt, and the margins in India and businesses are very, very small. So the cost of capital is too high in India, and businesses which are even doing well doesn't look well because eventually the PAT is very, very poor. So how do you really improve the overall profitability of the business is to shift the debt into an equity. Sometimes the other ways of also looking at exit option is to, operationally, you're not able to support your business and you need an operational partner. And we call it a sweat equity, or you get somebody who would come and operationally run that business. But we very particular that you need to have somebody who comes as taking an equity as an operational partner, has to bring some skin in the business. That's very, very important. If the skin is not there, I think the partnership would not work. So you need to first understand what is the option you need to do between these three. One, complete sellout, second, partially sellout, or third, you want to have somebody who operationally take responsibility to run the business. We have done at Franchise India and Business X many transactions where somebody like we now just Ujjwal is discussing with somebody who has a clinic and he's running a eye clinic and not coming from financial background. I mean, he was used to be running a Vasan eye clinic. Vasan moved out. He started his own eye clinic. And because he doesn't come from a medical background, he's not able to manage it well. And he needs now an operational partner, somebody who comes from a medical background to take over that clinic and run that. So in this case, you need to find somebody who has operational excellence, some kind of advantage they bring in that they will be able to take over the business. Now let's understand what are the next steps. If you decide that these are your structure, then you need to understand what are the foundational goals, right? What is the foundational goal? Why you want to do it? Most of the time is financial freedom. You want a financial freedom from whatever you're doing, and you want to now pursue something else in life. That's one foundational goal. So which means that the valuation of the business is very, very critical for you. The second is you want to reduce your liability, especially entrepreneurs when they take formal debt, get into a trap because a lot of times they pledge almost everything they have, even their personal assets. Bankers are smart. They normally tell you to put personal guarantees. They put everything on business. So you are in huge pressure that you have a lot of these liabilities sitting on you. And as you are running ahead in your life, it bothers you a lot because I know a lot of entrepreneurs struggle because they have their even personal assets being pledged to the business. So there has to be either of these, either you want a financial freedom or you want to limit your liability. Either of these two becomes your foundational goal. Second is you want to also operationally not able to manage the business. Between these three things, you will have a reason why you want to do that. Now the question really arrives that how do you really set the value of the business? It's very, very important. And I call it the SAS principle, SAS principle. There are three things in every business which needs to be looked at. One is the strategic value. What is the strategic value of the business? Second is the assets. A stands for the assets, and it can be both tangible, intangible assets. And the last S stands for the subscriber base. You can have all three in one business. You can have two of these in business, or you have just one in the business. Sometimes you have just a strategic value, right? Which is very, very strong. You have a location which is very strong. You have some licenses which are sitting with you. You have some IPs which are there with you. There is a strong strategic value. Sometimes it's just a brand, right? Anand Mahindra acquired a company called East India Company. It's just a legacy of the brand, right? It's a 400-year-old ruled in India. He's acquired the business. Not many people know that, but he acquired the business because he had a strong strategic legacy which was available. Sometimes it's great asset, so assets can be tangible assets, which can be machinery, real estate. Like, for example, the asset which was acquired by Imami acquired Jhandu as a brand. And a lot of people said it is overvalued because it was a transaction, if I remember, it was 700 crores. But they didn't realize that Jhandu's factory was in Lower Parel. And if they just moved the factory from there and put it somewhere else, the real estate at Lower Parel by conversion would be maybe 1,000 crore. So the Jhandu came literally free as a brand because it was a more real estate transaction than just the brand transaction. While it was very interesting for Imami because they also like the brand because they can leverage their distribution and FMCG distribution. And plus they are also in real estate business. So it was a very attractive transaction. So what needs to be understood is that what kind of asset sits in your business. And third is a subscriber, which I am a big fan of because today I think the business is most valued in terms of how they own the customer, and that's the real value of the business. Look at the Paytm valuation. It's not about the first two, really. It is about the subscribers, people using Paytm, while it is now being devalued because they pushed that same place and it's got dented because a lot of people would stop using Paytm. So the whole valuation and everything has shrunk for Paytm. So one has to understand, and you need to ask yourself, what is the critical value sitting in your business out of these three, between the strategic asset and a subscriber value? Somebody's trying to raise a question. So if you can ask in the Q&A box, I'll be happy to answer. Somebody's raised a, it's a musical showroom. and you have raised a hand. If you can ask your question on the Q&A box, I'll be very happy to answer. So most of the times, it's actually valuation is a combination of what I call art and science. Science is more coming from your numbers, financial performance, and I'll also explain how financial performance would work and how different it is for when you're taking growth capital or exiting the business. So, if you take growth capital, what you're really saying is that I want to take my business from here to here, and I'm looking at somebody who can come at a partial equity in the business, and because this business is going to go from here to here, it would get the equity growth. So most of the times you get much higher valuation. Look at the startups; they get much higher valuations because they're discounting their performance over the next 5-10 years. We call the DCF principle, where discounted cash flow. So overall, 5 years, we will discount the valuation of what is going to be the 5 year from now. That's how growth capital is taken. So it's much higher valuation. But when you're exiting the business, there is no future you're joining in, right? You're exiting right now. So your current balance sheet would become most critical. So how is your current balance sheet looking like? What is your overall profitability in the business? And that becomes a very, very important aspect for knowing that. And then a lot of other things we need to be really finding out. Apart from the scientific part of it, the art is really about how stable your business model is, how your operating systems are running, how solid and diversified your customer base is, how effective your financial controls are, and what is kind of a overall stability in your cash flows. So if I can demonstrate, like one of the business I sold, which had a 5-year contract with railways, and they had fixed contracts just to deliver services to railways, and that cash flow and the book was so strong that I can discount that next 5 years this will have predictable cash flows. So is your business model has some form of predictable cash flows? That's very, very important. But what really is a buyer looking at? What is a buyer always look at? And this is what something which Business X team really designs, how we really design your business model so that it becomes attractive and valuable for somebody to buy it. And please understand that when people come to you buying your business, they are very nervous because they perceive that you're selling the business if something is not right for you, right? That's what people perceive. Why would they invest into something? They believe it is something is wrong with your business. That's why you're selling the business. That's how a lot of people perceive the business. So what we need to really do is we need to design the 5 things. These 5 things are very, very critical when you're looking for selling your business. First, show the future over past. The new buyer is not at all interested in what you have done in the past. Not at all. Because they're participating in the future. What is the future for your business? How we can demonstrate that there has some inherent growth which can come. It can be having some kind of a strong growth path which can be done, and how it has to be achieved, how good your team is, which can take that journey, right? The second thing, which is most critical, and I'll give you my own example on that, is replacement of founder. Sometimes business is too much around you. It's around your contacts, around your name, family name, it's around everything around you, right? Like I was selling one of my businesses and I did the term sheet, everything happened, and it was an international company buying. And then finally he came and said, everything is around you. And it's so complex. If I take you out of the business, there is no value left. And so I realized that day that how it is important to make the founder redundant in their own business, right? So if you can tell your business doesn't need you, the business becomes even more valuable, even more valuable. So sometimes founders get too involved, especially Indian entrepreneurs, they get too involved in their own business, and it becomes so difficult to replace them. Even large companies, if you see, the family names become very important. If you look at Adani's large empire, it's all around Gautam Adani. So sometimes Indian founders are so glued in their businesses. It's everything the way they run the business, the way the management style is. So it becomes very complex to take their businesses because they become a threat or a competition to their own business. And a lot of times we've seen that. Like there was an acquisition done by South Indian chain called Sagar Ratna, done by a private equity firm. And I knew the firm, and I understand the whole transaction happened. But Jairam Banan was so involved in the business. And later he started a competition brand, which started hitting Sagar. So eventually, it had a bad taste for private equity firm because they felt that it became competition to their own brand business. And eventually they had to shut the business, and it had huge financial problems and so on and so forth. So how you want to replace that founder is very, very critical. How your team is designed, how your business can run without you is very important. Third is the predictability of the business, how predictable your business model is, and that's something which is very, very important. And if you are able to show that predictability, it really enhances confidence of a new buyer to invest in your business. Fourth, what is the unlock value? Sometimes there are businesses which have tremendous unlock value. It can be the brand, it can be any other thing, it can be real estate, it can be something else you can produce out of the same business. So what is there an unlock value which sits in your business? That has to be found. And fifth is the recurring revenues. If you have a book which can be demonstrated that over the years how the business would perform, that also is very, very important. So once you are able to design these 5 things, we do the information memorandum and we design these 5 things very, very clearly, very transparent, so that it builds confidence of a new buyer to come in the business. Now, very important is, what is the timing of the sale? At what stage you should decide that your business you want to sell? Most of the time it's called S curve, right? So people forget that what time is the best time. When your business is going up, which means that you are doing quarter to quarter better performance, that is the best time to find the buyer. If you start declining, it is not the best sign to really sell the business. Because now, if say last 3 quarters, your revenue has declined, what is it telling? Is your business is going down trail, and people are not interested in that stage. So if your business has some kind of a growth path, that is the time you need to really look at it. While, I mean, you have no option. If you are going down also, you'll have to take a lower valuation. You will not get the best valuation because you're not on the rise curve. So you need to really see which part of the S you are there. Are you growing or are you declining? And if you're growing, then the best time is to really look for a buyer. Then what is a stage where you need to really decide that you want to really find a new buyer? One, you are peaked out. You're peaked out, you're not able to grow. The last 3, 4 years, 5 years have been same. You're doing the same thing, same revenues. Then answer is that you just, and especially if in India, if you are in last 4, 5 years and not grown, then something is really wrong with your business. Because India has so much of inherent demand coming up, right? So even if you don't do it, your business still goes up. Everything has a large demand. And if you're not growing, or if you're flat as an organization, then most likely you will start declining. So you need to really find a buyer. Second, if you are looking to change the orbit and you don't have that capital, so you're seeing that your business can go 5x from here, but you don't have that capital, then maybe you can decide to find a buyer. It can be partial sale out, or it can be complete sellout. But because the business has a strong unlock value, which you are not able to capitalize, somebody else can be doing that. Then also, it is a very opportunist way. Like, for example, when Byju's were rising, almost every edtech company who was smart sold their business to Byju's because they were on an acquisition spear. So in any time of the year, you will find some industries are consolidating. And that is a time where you need to find out who's buying there in the market. Like these days, Reliance has acquired so many consumer brands. They've almost acquired 4,000 different brands from different people. So they're going in the whole consumption space. Anything which has consumption, a retail story or omni-channel story, they're going and buying those businesses, provided the business is great. And every kind of business they're picking up, especially in the overall consumption space. Another thing, that you are not able to fight a big competition. The competition become much, much bigger for you. So you need to really, you cannot fight the elephant, right? That's the rule. So you need to really go and collaborate or sell that business. So find out any of these reasons happening in your business. Then you need to decide that this is the time you need to decide to sell the business. And then finally, you need to be very, very clear about the outcome. What are your expectations? And when we start working with sellers, we set these 2 numbers very clearly. What one number I call the must-have number, which means that nothing less than that is right for you to sell. And second is nice to have, which means that you're looking for this kind of valuation. And the answer lies somewhere in the middle, So it is obviously ahead of your must-have valuation, but something in the middle, you will be able to get that valuation. It also depends on how your business is structured, how clean it is, how it is, in financially designed. All that numbers are very, very important. So what we do as a business X, this is the last part of my presentation. It's a 30-minute webinar, friends. So last 2-3 minutes I'll take to give you what we do. So if you work with us, we first set your exit objectives and goals. What is an objective and we want to do that? Remember what I said, either you want to sell completely or you want to partially sell it. What is the larger goal for you? Is the financial freedom or reducing your liability? So we first set the goal. Then we understand the kind of available resources you have, what kind of resources, capabilities, organizational capabilities you have. Then we understand the valuation of the business and we design the complete valuation document, whole IM for you. Then we also design in terms of what is a buyer group, what is a profile of buyers we will need to do that. Like, for example, if you have two sets of businesses, one is non-performing businesses, most of the time it has a strategic buyer. A very rare you will get a financial investor in this business. But if you are a performing asset, which means that it's profitable, most likely it is a financial buyer, not so much strategic, because strategic don't give you that kind of valuation. So we first understand the valuation, we come to terms with the valuation and also agree on a certain timelines and clearly target who we want to do that. And sometimes our sellers also come with their wish list in terms of what they need to see as a buyer group, because they also have some expectation in terms of who's going to run their business and so on and so forth. And then we structure and reach out to these buyers and structure deal. All this done is confidential, and then we start working on the deal structuring, and then a lot of due diligence process happens in the process, and that's most difficult part, because the buyer becomes nervous as they go along in the whole journey, and it becomes, and sometimes the valuations change and things happen and so on and so forth, and eventually, and if everything goes well, then you do the legal documentation, structuring, tax compliances, and so on and so forth. So this is the entire journey. So first, friends, you need to be certain that you want to pass this journey. That's very, very important. If you really feel that you are come to a point where you want to sell the business, you need to have a mindset that you want to do this journey. So reach out to Ujjwal and talk to him, share your business. We are happy to sign a non-disclosure document to understand business, because I know not everyone wants to share openly at business stage. So Ujjwal would sign a non-disclosure document. Once he understands the business, sees the merit in that we at Business X can take this responsibility to lead your transaction, then he'll bring me in, and I will also try to understand the business, your financials, and then we will understand and set some objectives. And if the objectives match and we have the right expectation on both sides, at our Business X and your side, then we'll take a mandate and start working on your project. So thank you very much for joining today's webinar.
Thank you, Gaurav sir. I would like to thank everyone. Good evening. My name is Ayush Agrawal, and thanks once again for joining this webinar. And you can connect with me or either the person who helped you in joining this webinar if you have any further questions, or we will respectively give you a call, whoever has asked in Q&A and raised the questions. Thank you once again. Have a great evening ahead. Looking forward to connecting with you all.